Good evening, everybody. It is 6:32 on Wednesday, January 20th, 2001. This is the regular session starting at 6:30. Those attending tonight's meeting should be aware that the meeting is being audio and video recorded by ASRSD, and any audience members who wish to record any part of the meeting must inform the chair, who will announce the recording. This is to comply with the Massachusetts wiretap statute. The listings of matters those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may, in fact, be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. I would call to order the regular session, and I would ask that we do the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Quinty? Would you like to lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Quinty. I do know this group never should be in the same canoe. We go 6 different directions. Before we continue, I would like to have a moment of silence for Paula Gassengay, who passed away on Saturday. She was a excellent education of students with disabilities. She was a team leader. She's been with Air Shirley for 4 years, and she passed this last weekend. So if we could all have a moment of silence, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. As my mom would say, God love you all. We got a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do. Thank you for being willing to do it. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. She'll be missed, and she was an excellent educator, she will be sorely missed. She was working up until Friday, and we have it's going to be very difficult to continue. So thank you very much. Michelle, could we have the roll call, please?
Mr. DeForge?
Here.
Mrs. Granger? Mr. Leone?
Here.
Mr. Quinty?
Here.
Mrs. Reshoots?
Here.
Mrs. Simmons?
Thank you, Michelle. Continuing on, we have item 4, public participation. We will allow a half an hour. Comments will be listed to 3 minutes, please, and we can go on from there. Do we have anybody waiting, Mike?
Madam Chair, if I may add, any other participants that would like to take part in public participation, can you please type your name in the chat?
Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome. Yes, we do have Kim Adamson would like to speak. Kim, once I give you control to speak, can you please state your address? Just give me a moment, please. Hi, Kim. Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
That's fine. Thank you.
Perfect. 34 Partridge Run in Air.
All righty. You are on.
My question is, why are these meetings still held via Zoom and not in person if all the children are back in school and they're considered safe and there's low spread at school? There's 6, 7 adults here meeting via Zoom and not in person.
If I might answer that for you, Kim, I would love nothing more than to be in person. And at this time, I think the consensus of opinion, anyone who wishes to disagree with me on the committee certainly can. But the problem is that we are trying to keep some traffic out of the school so that we don't have miscellaneous people coming in and put an extra burden on the staff. I think, as we get some vaccinations and stuff, I hope this is going to change very soon. If it was just Joyce Reshoots, I would be in person. So does that help, or what do you think?
I think it's a really hard pill to swallow because, first of all, I don't think that the kids should be back at school, and I don't think you guys should be meeting in person. And that's just strictly my opinion. However, I am an advanced care practitioner, and I literally see 10 to 12 cases of pediatric COVID a day on my work days. So I'm having a really hard time with the numbers that are coming out with the zero spread because when I know someone has COVID and then they say there's no close contact, and what we get back from Dr. Malone is, oh, there were no close contacts because they were all within 6 feet. We just bought this past week, my 6-year-old who's in first grade at Page Hilltop, a measuring tape. So he knew what 6 feet was. He said, oh, no way, Mom. There's no way people are 6 feet apart. So it's hard for me to understand this, really hard. And Dr. Malone knows exactly how my husband and I feel.
Well, thank you. And yes, we all know how hard this is. I have been in Page Hilltop a couple of times to sign papers and was really interested to see how the kids at the lunch were spacing themselves. No one was telling them not to do it or whatever. And I'm sure there's many, many times when the kids aren't 6 feet apart. But I think there is a ideal to be that. And you know, it's going to vary. Hopefully sometime in the spring we will have some vaccinations and we can reconsider everything then. Thank you for your comments. But your kid is in school?
One of them is currently, yes. And yes, they are. I have 2 children in school.
Good, good. Does that help at all?
No, it doesn't help at all because I figure that all these kids coming and going in 2 different cohorts are going places on the weekends. Our family is very strict about not going anywhere and not doing anything because my husband and I are both frontliners. But to have 6 extra people 6 feet apart, not touching anything, you're 6 adults. I mean, that's pretty low foot traffic right there, considering what I see in my neighborhood with parties happening. So it's, like I said, it's a hard pill for me to swallow, but thank you.
Well, I think the other thing that maybe came up in discussion, because this has been discussed many times. So let's say that we are using the large group instruction room in the high school. It's very deep in the high school. You can't get to it easily from an outside entrance, and then allowing the public to come in also. So I think that we're on unknown ground and we're doing our best with it, but thank you for your comments.
I understand that, but nobody's saying the public has to be invited. You can Zoom the public, but if you guys are the ones who voted for everybody to be in school, you vote for everybody to be in school, and then you guys sit behind your desks at your houses for a Zoom meeting for the school. It's really hard to swallow.
I will take you seriously, and believe me, if I would be out of this Zoom meeting faster than you could say Jack Rabbit if I had a choice, because I deal with the public. I deal directly with the public all the time, and we do all the precautions, and everybody in my group have not had any problems because we do all the precautions and have since April 2nd. So I understand it. Maybe we can reconsider it. Do we have somebody else? Michael?
No one else wishing to speak, but there is a comment from Representative of the Lunenburg Ledger, Air Shirley.
Oh, yes, I saw that. Thank you for that. Thanks for that piece of information. We will work on that. Okay.
Madam Chair, could you just share that so that everyone who's here is aware? Because I don't think the participants see the chat always.
I just kind of lost the name, so.
Yeah, they didn't leave their name, just that they're
Okay, so we have someone from the Lunenburg Ledger recording the meeting tonight. Is that accurate?
correct, for personal use, not for distribution, to ensure the information in the story is accurate.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to come forward?
That is it.
All right, thank you very much. Not seeing anybody else. We will move to the consent agenda. We have January 5th, 2021 regular session minutes for release. We have January 5th, 2021 executive session minutes. Did I say that right? Executive session minutes not for release. And we have one warrant memo, and I just lost it. Sorry. And we have a warrant memo, AP warrant 1097 dated 1/8/2021 for $551,595.76. And we have payroll warrant number 15 dated 1/15/2021 for $670,321.33, which is a bi-weekly payroll. I would entertain it on the consent form.
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion that we approve the consent agenda as described this evening.
Thank you, Mr. DeForge. Is there a
Second.
Is that Mr. Leone?
Yep.
All right, thank you, Joe. So it's been motioned and seconded. All in favor? Michelle, would you please take a roll call?
Mr. DeForge,
Aye.
is Mrs. Granger here yet? No?
No.
Mr. Leone,
Aye.
Mr. Quinty,
Aye.
Mrs. Reshoots,
Aye.
is Mrs. Simmons here yet? No?
The consent warrant,
Yes,
consent agenda.
Simmons just coming in now.
Okay.
I had a heck of a time. I could
Aye.
hear everything. I just couldn't seem to get myself actually physically in the meeting. But here I am. Sorry, I'm
Welcome.
late.
Glad you're here, Joe. So that is unanimous, and we can go on to new business. We have some exciting stuff tonight. Presentation on the Panther Innovation Lab at Air Shirley Regional High School. Grace Audette, and who's a senior at ASRD, and Mary Beth Hamill, Director of Student Services. Would like to make a presentation of that.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'm just promoting everyone to panelists right now, so.
Okay.
Grace, Mike, Mary Beth, are you guys all there?
Yes, I'm here. I believe Grace is on the call as well, too.
Grace needs to be made an attendee or a panelist.
All right,
This is her parents who made us panelists by accident.
there we go.
Welcome, everyone.
Thanks.
There she is.
Hello, I'm here now.
Okay, good evening. Thank you, Madam Chair, committee members, Dr. Malone, Mr. Cleary, members of the public. Grace and I are thrilled to have a few moments of your time tonight to bring you up to speed on our Massachusetts Skills Grant Program. The committee may remember we were awarded a grant. It was actually issued in FY19. We didn't receive the funding until last fall. It was delayed due to the pandemic. But the amount of the award was $82,951. And I will remind you of the purpose of the grant. It really connects to a much larger idea beyond high school in terms of the Central Massachusetts workforce and areas in need of training, such as biomanufacturing and engineering. So we had a few goals written into our proposal. The first of which was to develop an understanding and interest in the STEM industry through the engineering design build process, utilizing appropriate space, materials, and equipment. And 100% of the $82,951 was used to purchase equipment that is now located in the Panther Innovation Lab. And in a few moments, Grace will bring that to life for you with her slideshow. Essentially, we hope that with his existence of this lab, which would provide access to staff and students across all 4 schools ultimately, will motivate younger students to gain an interest in the STEM field. And it's open, this lab will be open to all students, not just students in the robotics club, which is an important point for the public to be aware of. Our second goal was to provide users the opportunities to learn and use industry design software such as SolidWorks and AutoCAD to enhance their workforce skills in such efforts as 3D modeling and prototyping and structural analysis. So direct instruction, the application of skills, and mentorship using these software and equipment tools will all take place in the Panther Innovation Lab, which is located in our high school. We also hope to develop the soft skills in the workforce. That is time management, learning how to work as a team member, how to communicate, how to problem solve, how to resolve conflicts among team members. Ultimately, our goal, which is still probably at least a year or two away, is to partner with a higher ed institution, hopefully Mount Wachusett Community College or Fitchburg State University, to develop an articulation agreement, providing opportunities for students to begin work in the Panther Innovation Lab in the biotech and engineering programs at the higher ed level, where they might be enrolled in high school and also receive college credit. So those were sort of the primary goals as we launched our application. And by the way, if you're familiar with the term, the third time's the charm, it was our third consecutive year in applying for the grant before it was finally awarded. We had some help from members of the robotics team who were certainly instrumental. Grace's dad, Mike Gaudette, was one who helped us to build the equipment list. Maureen Hill-Cummins and Chris Miska and I worked together on the actual grant proposal, which was finally awarded, as I mentioned, in FY19. So in a moment, I'm going to have Grace begin her PowerPoint, and we'll take questions and answers at the end. But I hope you'll realize, as the members of the Workforce Planning Committee have, that Grace has such passion for the subject, but also passion for the idea that her fellow peers will have an opportunity to work in this lab prior to the close of their senior year. Hopefully it's going to launch interest, again, as we mentioned, in the STEM fields. Some students may have such a deep interest that they decide to go on to study of a STEM field at the higher ed level. Other students, we hope, after they participate in this lab, would have enough practice and application of real world skill to be able to launch into a career right from high school in biomanufacturing. So Grace, at this point, I'd like to turn the presentation over to you, and you can walk us through what's happened to date in your project.
All right. I'm Grace Audette. I'm a senior at Shirley Regional High School. I'm also a hardware lead on the Andromeda 1 robotics team, and I'm a Life Scout in Scouts BSA with Troop 13 Groton. So I decided in the middle kind of end of last year that I had heard about the Innovation Lab, and I thought it would be a great idea to, as part of, as my Eagle Scout project, set up the lab and organize some of the equipment in there. So if you want to move to the next slide. My project was to build and assemble all the equipment in the lab itself, in the space, and also make standard operating procedures for all of the equipment, as well as holding a walkthrough for the district staff and faculty to see the lab. And because of COVID, the lab hadn't been set up yet, so that was where my project was helpful. You can go to the next one. So far, there's been 18 people help out, and over 200 hours by individual volunteers, and 35-ish hours so far total working on this project. And we have 7 more days to that I plan on working on this project in the school. You can go to the next slide. I'm also in the process of making a website for the Panther Innovation Lab that will have all of the necessary materials and information about the Panther Innovation Lab, including the operating procedures, a virtual tour of the lab, and other different projects and things like that that can be done with the equipment that was from the grant. And I'll also be on February 10th, which is a Wednesday, the Wednesday before vacation. I'll be holding a walkthrough for all staff and faculty in the district to come through and take a tour of the lab to see what it's all about. And next, I'm just going to go through, this is what the room kind of looked like before the project. We have all the boxes in the lab. Nothing's assembled or anything or unpackaged. And you can go through the next one. This is another image. You can go to the next one. So this Tuesday was the first one. We were starting to assemble things and kind of get stuff organized before we could do any bigger assembly. Go to the next. Here we are, some of the things going into the shelving, just to get things out of the way. So we had a nice group of Andromeda 1 students help out on this Saturday, and we were able to build 3 of the workbenches and organize a bunch more tools and build some shelving units as well. You can see here building more equipment. On this work day, we put the CNC router together, which you can see is that big machine there. And we started to arrange some of the workstations for the computers. You can go to the next. That was a time lapse, but I don't know that it works. So this Saturday, we were able to build 7 3D printers. And we will actually run a print on every 3D printer. We finished setting up the CNC, and we set up the vinyl cutter and its accessories. On this Tuesday, we began learning some more about the CNC and running some different tools with it. And if you go to the next slide, we actually made a test sign on the CNC. It didn't turn out the greatest, but we learned a few things there, so that's good. On this Saturday, we were able to begin to learn how to use the vinyl cutter, which is another piece of equipment in there. And we actually put decals on the doors of the lab to make it pop out more in the school. We also, with the vinyl cutter, there's a t-shirt press that came with it. So we were able to make a test little print on a t-shirt there. On this Tuesday, we did some 3D printing. That was a video. I don't know that if it works or not. It's okay if it doesn't.
I can play it if you want. It's up to you.
It's all right. Okay. So those 3D printers, they can print. They print really well. You can go to the next slide. So part of the grant, with the equipment that was bought for the CNC, there was actually some training sessions that came with it. So we had the trainer come in and train 5 or 6 of the school staff and faculty on how to use the CNC. So that's really great that the teachers are already learning how to use that. So it was really great that that happened. And we also had a work day this past Tuesday, and we had another session of the CNC training today, but those aren't in this yet. But I had a total of 9 phases for my Eagle project, which was fundraising, finding work days, organizing the equipment, building the equipment, finding a spot for it, and learning how to use it. And then the last few parts were about the walkthrough, which is just going through that. So I still have to work on that because that's on February 10th, but I'm almost done with the project. And you can go to the next slide. And that's the end.
So I think you'll agree, Grace is pretty amazing. Her passion is infectious. Grace attends our monthly leadership planning meetings, does a similar presentation, has a standing item on the agenda, is able to be very articulate and clear about the progress she's making. She's also quite humble. I think Grace forgot to mention that prior to the start of the project, she actually created a GoFundMe page and raised quite a bit of money to keep her peers who were volunteering their time happy and well fed with pizza and drinks, etc. So a couple of things you may want to know. Where the meeting yesterday, the planning team spent a lot of time thinking about a launch date with safety restrictions due to the pandemic in mind. So one piece I think that we finalized yesterday was at the start of term 3, Mr. Phil Moore, who's a member of our science department, who's been very involved all along, has proposed a Panther Block enrichment session, which will probably cap at about 10 students, that will give students an introduction to the equipment as well as to the computers, because they're adjacent. It's a large space with a folding wall in between. So we hope to introduce 10 students in term 3 and another 10 students in term 4 to the Panther Innovation Lab. There'll be some direct instruction, but there'll also be opportunities for students to experiment in the design build process. We hope that Grace, as well as members of the planning team and school administration, including high school counselors, will help us to get the word out to students about the possibilities that will exist because of the Panther Innovation Lab in terms of new, rigorous, high-level math and science courses. We hope to make a presentation similar to this one to show to incoming freshmen, grade 8, current grade 8 students, to excite them about the lab and the possibilities. And Grace actually has her first request from me, actually, in terms of a community service project. We are about to launch our kindergarten and preschool registration information sessions. And for many years, we've posted in front of the schools vinyl banners advertising the registration period. Well, they have been a little bit worn due to the weather, and we're in need of new vinyl banners, which I was getting ready to order through our company, local company, and thought, I bet we've got the materials right here on hand, and we can use this new vinyl cutter to complete a project that's going to give right back to the community. And Grace was very excited to hear about that. So I think that's a go. And as the lab becomes more well-known to teachers across the district, science teachers, STEM teachers, teachers involved in summer programming, we hope that ultimately when we're up and fully running and the safety restrictions are lifted and the standard operating procedures are posted, that we'll be able to work with Air and Shirley and Devon's adult community education to offer some direct instruction in the form of a series of lessons to adults in the community who are interested in training or retraining using the equipment in the lab. So many, many thanks to Grace and to Grace's family, who's very involved, have dedicated countless hours and are very supportive of the project, as well as many thanks to all of the members of the Robotics Club. So we'll take questions at this point.
I have a question. Beth Giulioni, you said 10 kids might be signed up in term 3. Is that because you only anticipate that many, or is there a limit to the number of kids that can be instructed in the lab or use the lab? I don't particularly like seeing limits to anything. This is a beautiful operation you have worked on, and you know, Grace, I think you've done a superb job. Limiting to 10 would be something that would bother me. I hope that it can be available to more than that.
That's our hope too. It's a great question, actually. The 10 is limited at this point strictly to the need for social distancing around the, you know, we looked at the square footage in the space, and we needed to use the Department of Elementary guidance around the numbers of students that you could safely fit within a certain amount of square footage. And a team of people were in there actually measuring, and they feel pretty comfortable with a number of adults supervising and 10 students at a time until those social distancing restrictions are lifted.
So what about time? Is it like those 10 people would be all in there at once, or is that throughout the day? I'm, you know, scheduling wise too, is that part of the problem?
Hi, Mr. Leone.
Yeah.
It's Spencer Christie.
Hey, Spence.
Hi, I'm happy to answer some of these questions around time and space within the Panther Lab. So Mr. Moore has proposed having a genius half hour. I think many of us have heard of a genius hour before, which is something that Google originated and has been really wonderfully successful at many schools. Mr. Moore has decided that his Panther block this term is going to be a genius half hour, which is devoted to students creating innovations and working directly with students. The idea for having 10 students, as Ms. Hamill had previously said, is partially based on just CDC numbers in the lab. The other is to really give each of those 10 students an opportunity to work directly with Mr. Moore. And actually, we're hoping to have Miss Audette co-host this Genius Half Hour as well, to really see the production that can come out of this new space and the wonderful equipment we have. As you've heard tonight, Miss Audette is incredibly passionate about this space, and her infectious energy, as Miss Hamill pointed out, really we think is going to drive more student leadership within this space itself. And so by limiting the numbers, we'll be able to have more, I hate to use the word hands-on in this time, but more personal connection to each of the pieces of equipment and to each of the leaders within this Panther block.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else, Joe?
Nope.
Is there
Just a
anyone
quick
else?
comment, if
Hi,
that's
Sha-
okay. Hi. Today was a great day for women, and Grace, you certainly are part of that in our little community. I love seeing women take on leadership roles, especially young women like yourself. This is great. I love that you have found such a passion. I think this is going to take you pretty far. Don't forget us in air. And it seemed like yesterday that you were this little girl, and I just can't believe you're about to finish high school and head off to college. Have you made a decision?
I have not made a decision yet, but thank you very much. I've been accepted a few places, but I haven't decided yet. So
Good luck with your decision.
thank you very much.
And thank you for all your work.
Of course, I enjoy it.
Anyone else?
Grace, I'd just like to say that I've been a member of a number of board reviews, and I'm an Eagle myself, and this is one of the best Eagle projects I've ever seen put together, although I like Darren's too, but I'm a little biased when it comes to what he did. I'm also excited that you'll be one of the first women that'll be eligible to be an Eagle Scout in the area now that we finally decided to have women be a part of the troop. How many merit badges do you have left? And can you tell us how your troop is handling remote meetings and advancement?
Yeah, so I am almost there. I have one merit badge is citizenship in the community, which I'm doing community service with Loaves and Fishes right now for that. And I also have camping. I have 2 more camping nights, which I'm actually getting this weekend, where our troop is doing a virtual camp out. But our troop has been very successful. Is Groton. So I'm in the Groton troop. And our troop has been very successful doing kind of like a hybrid of a few in-person activities and a few virtual activities every month. And if we can't meet in person, we have a Zoom meeting and we can adapt our meetings to that very well. So we've been doing a pretty good job on our troop side as well. So.
Terrific. If you need any letters from the committee for your citizenship in the community, I'm sure we can help you out with that.
Alrighty, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Jonathan, did you want to? Yes.
just Superintendent Malone, I just want to thank Grace for her work and commitment to this Panther Lab. We've been working on this now. It's a couple of years, Mary Beth?
Yes,
you know,
yes.
yeah.
The award was given and then the check was delayed, or not the check per se, but the ability to actually begin spending against the award. And then equipment was slow to come in because of the pandemic. We were working with an international corporation that seemed to take very long time for that piece of equipment to arrive. But by early August, the funds were fully expended. and all of our materials had arrived just at the same time that we were planning to open schools in the midst of a pandemic. So the priority of opening the lab sort of shifted off of our plates for a little while. And along came a student with this wonderful Eagle Scout proposal. And Grace really is, as I mentioned, she's very passionate. She's inspirational. She was a breath of fresh air and really invigorated the planning committee to continue our work.
Yes, that was going to be my comment. Thank you, Grace, for jumpstarting this project and, really bringing it to life in the school. We really appreciate it and look forward to your continued work and the birth of the Panther Innovation Lab. It's a great opportunity for our students in the district, and we look forward to the further developments and reports. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Mr. Christie, as we start to kick this off a little bit, I hope you will work with Grace and maybe with APAC to do a little video community tour of the space, because this would be something probably very foreign to most of the people in that TV audience. So I think that would be, if there's some way to put that together, I think that would be time well spent.
Absolutely, Mr. Quinty. Grace has already recorded some wonderful time-lapse videos. So the footage is already there. Really, the work that she and her team have done in this space is incredible. We were able to give a new perspective student a tour of the lab today. And this student was blown away. He absolutely couldn't wait to be a freshman, couldn't wait to come into school and really start getting hands-on the equipment and start designing himself. So yeah, I think you're right. I think this is something that the TV audiences in both Air and Shirley will love to see. I'm so happy to get started on that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Christie. I, like Jim, have worked on a number of Eagle projects, and this is fantastic because it's so sharing with the view of the future. And it's absolutely good, and best of luck to you in everything that you do. And anytime any of us can help you, please let us know.
Alrighty, thank you guys very much
for coming tonight and doing this with us. This is quite good. Applause all around.
Our pleasure. We're very excited to share it with you and look forward to sharing it with the greater community.
There you go.
So, and thank you to Mary Beth, our grant manager, who's been overseeing this project all along, and for her leadership in working with the team at the high school. So thank you to Mary Beth.
My pleasure.
Very good. Anyone else? I don't ever to not get their 2 cents in on this. It's too fantastic to let it die.
Madam Chair, if I may just ask Grace, what's your favorite piece of equipment that you've unpacked so far and been able to play around with?
I would have to say the laser machine, the laser engraver / laser cutter. That's probably my favorite, mostly because that's the one I've used the most. It has a wide variety of applications, and we make a bunch of cool little trinkets and engraved some stuff that's pretty neat. So they'll be on display, and I'll post them on the website at some point.
Awesome. You can't go wrong with lasers, can you?
No.
Well, thank you all. Thank you for your work. I appreciate it. Certainly.
Joe, did you have something else?
I'm good. Good job.
Thank you very much, Mary Beth and Grace, for being here tonight. Item B under new business is by Mr. Leone, some reorganization of the advisory committee.
Okay. The advisory committee is going to take a slight change. I am stepping away from the advisory committee. My behavior at the last meeting, which is videoed, so it's there for all of you to see, but please don't watch, was inexcusable. I find that the work of the committee is not good for my mental health, and so for my family and for me, I need to step away from that committee. I am suggesting that Lorraine Wilson be appointed as the chairperson of the Diversity and Equity and Inclusion Committee. So I am putting her name in nomination for that, and we as a school committee need to vote to approve that.
Mr. Leone, would you like to formally introduce? I know she was at one of our other meetings, but if you'd like to formally introduce Lorraine?
Well, she's our director of equity and diversity for the district. She was introduced to the committee and anyone who was there at our last meeting. She was also introduced to the Equity, Diversity, Inclusion Committee, Advisory Committee at our last meeting. And so she is known to all, and she is agreed to take on this role. So I don't know if she needs any further introduction. She has more letters associated with her resume than I can probably say, and she's just really more than qualified to take on this task. And I'm thrilled that she has accepted the nomination to do it, and I sincerely hope that you will approve that tonight.
Thank you. Lorraine, do you wish to add anything to that?
Sure. I can make comments now or after the vote, whatever is the will of the committee.
It's fine. We can go ahead and do a vote. Joe, are you making that a nomination?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second to the nomination to appoint Lorraine Wilson as the chair of the advisory committee?
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion from anyone?
Can we discuss after?
Well,
Or do we
vote, it might
discuss
be too
now?
late, but we can do either. Go ahead, Cheryl. What do you wish to do?
Well, obviously, I want to. Sorry, I want to thank Joe for his time on this committee. Joe, you know, I haven't attended all the meetings because I have a hard time saying no, and so I'm like in a meeting almost every night. And I know that you put a lot of time and effort into that group, and it's very needed. We are all in agreement with that. And I'm sorry that you're feeling that you're ending on a bad note. I do want to give a little of my perspective on the Equity, Diversity, Inclusion Committee. I think in some ways there's some difficulty moving forward because there are a lot of people who are still hurting from experiences, whether it's in this community or seeing them on the news or, you know, just throughout the country. And it's been very difficult. I think we all need to come together and agree that everybody that is here and everybody in that meeting and people who are part of a school community like ours, we are all working towards the same thing of becoming more equitable, more diverse, even working towards anti-racism. We are all at a different point in our own personal journeys. And I would ask that nobody place judgment on where each person is in that journey. Because we wouldn't be here if we didn't believe in the direction that we want to go in with diversity, equity, inclusion. I felt at the last meeting that the meeting swayed away from what was on the agenda, and it came back to the hurt, and there was judgment. And again, when I looked around, I knew everybody there was there to make things better, but they're just at a different point in their journey to get there. And I would hope that moving forward that we can start to respect that with each other, and that we can set some real goals and intentions that that we can then have information that would come back to the schools. One of the things that Lorraine and others on the committee, I think a while ago, spoke a lot about curriculum and really making some adjustments to curriculum, bringing them in literature and things like that. We're kind of at a point that we're going to run out of time with giving some sort of like suggestions and things like that, because teachers want time to go through books and to go through curriculum. And we're, as teachers, it's already really difficult this year because of the pandemic. So I would make the suggestion of trying to move forward with that piece. The other thing that I did reach out to Joe about, might have been a couple of months ago, is to start looking at something that is going to involve kids in some sort of peer training, like through ADL. But again, I think we need something that we can really like dig our teeth into and say like, here it's an advisory committee. This is what we want you to look at as a district, and try to move away from the moments of just getting stuck in the hurt. So I'll just end again by saying thank you, Joe, and thank you, Lorraine, for being willing to take on this additional role. I think it'll certainly match up with what you're already doing with the community.
Thank you, Cheryl. Does anybody else wish to say anything or add anything before we vote?
I just wanted to kind of echo a little bit what Cheryl was saying. I know that as a DEI, we worked on some surveys, and I think, Joe, you could probably help me with where those stand, but if we could, you know, move those along and get those out so that we can get some real data from the district, I think that would be really helpful, so that we'd have some real information that we can start to look at to see how our community's doing, and how our students and staff are feeling with regard to the issues on that survey.
So at the next meeting, it was supposed to be tomorrow night, but we're moving tomorrow night's meeting, as you know, to a week from tomorrow, because we want to be on opposite weeks of the school committee meetings. The survey is one of the major items that we need to discuss as to when we're going to get that out, and I think that's really important. You know, Lorraine and I will be meeting tomorrow to discuss some of the things and where the committee has been and where it is likely to go. But there are a lot of different issues that I think that the committee will need to address, and that survey will be a big one to help the committee know where the community, the school community at large stands on issues. But at our last meeting, which I might as well, you know, go with some of the report at this time, the last meeting, it was brought up about our hiring practices and other issues with respect to diversity, and in particular, people of color in our school system as employees. And so that is another major issue. We discussed also, you know, the number of kids of color that are leaving the school system and what we can do about those. Those are issues that I think we need to discuss. And instead of, you know, trying to figure out why they were leaving, you know, or blaming people for why they were leaving, find out what their reasons were for leaving so that we can address them. Survey those, put together a group to survey the people that left. and find out why, and so that we can make some positive gains towards eliminating those situations. In addition, this school committee is not diverse. We're all white people. I'm suggesting that I will not be seeking a new term in May of school committee. And I'm doing that for a number of reasons, but my main reason is that I want to see a person of color run for that school committee position so that we can get diversity on our school committee as well. So that's all I need to say. And if we're ready to vote, I'm ready to vote.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. I would like to interject and thank Joe for all his work on this. It's very difficult for anybody taking on other stuff, and thank you, Joe. We appreciate it. I would ask it's motion seconded, and if Michelle would take the roll call, please.
Mr. DeForge,
Aye.
Mrs. Granger,
Aye.
Mr. Leone,
Aye.
Mr. Quinty,
Aye.
Mrs. Reshoots,
Aye.
Mrs. Simmons.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. The vote was unanimous. Lorraine, thank you very much. If you wish to jump in and say something, I certainly would appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Dr. Malone, and the members of the school committee for the honor of this appointment. I also want to thank Mr. Leone for all of his service to the school committee and to the DEI committee. I know that it certainly at times has not been easy, and we all have to make the decisions that are best for ourselves and our families. And as I begin my work at ASRSD and all of the different aspects of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and my work with the counselors and teachers and other administrators, I do see a district that is putting the words of its vision and mission statements into action. And I hope to sort of add that perspective to the committee in terms of having an agenda item that includes an opportunity for the district to share its action items and things that we've been working on, and inviting folks from the district to come and speak to those as is possible and applicable. And my hope is really to facilitate and to lead and to support this committee in moving forward in a cohesive and positive direction. As Michelle said, there are many folks who hold hurt from past experiences, be they at ASRSD or elsewhere. And I hope to build a cohesive group and move forward in a positive direction and help the committee in its advisory capacity to the school committee so that we can impact change in the schools around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And in my short time here, I can see that folks in the district are committed to that. And I'm really honored to be stepping into this role. And once again, just thank you to the committee and also to the community at large for their contributions to the DEI committee. And I look forward to meeting many of you in person as I am able.
Good. Thank you very, very much. We have no place to reach but up. I'm going to move the agenda order and go to item 8 under ongoing business to FY22 preliminary budget presentation with Dr. Malone and Mr. Plunkett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are very pleased to present a responsible and equitable FY22 preliminary budget that supports our priorities of safety, equitable education, and a high quality education. This is the first year in 7 years that Mr. Plunkett and I are presenting to the school committee what we call a level funded budget, which means that there are no increases, no new positions to this budget, except for the annual costs that increase, such as health insurance and salaries. Over the last 6 years, we have completed our curriculum renewal process, and in the key content areas of ELA, mathematics, science, and social studies, we have purchased all new resources. Our enrollment remains steady, and so our staffing is adequate. We have equitable and good class size, and we're very proud to be able to retain in this budget that will be presented to you this evening, all of which we have achieved without any new increases this year, except, as I mentioned, to the with salaries and health insurance, health costs. So at this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Tebow to call up the PowerPoint first, please, and then we'll go to the actual budget.
Hi, Dr. Malone. I actually don't have access to the PowerPoint right now. Can somebody share that with me?
Mrs. Town? Sorry about
All
that.
set. Yep, sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Yes. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Michelle. So I want to bring your attention to the quote down at the bottom. Great schools create vibrant communities. That I spoke that quote about 7 years ago, and we are still in the same place, that great schools create vibrant communities. You saw the presentation by our senior Grace and the innovation that is happening in the district. Next slide, please. Lorraine Wilson, our Director of Equity and School Counseling, spoke to our district vision. And our vision, we revised it with our strategic plan last year. And our vision is to connect, engage, and inspire every student to reach academic excellence. The educators of the East Shirley Regional School District will instill habits of reflection and inquiry that challenge our students to set ambitious academic and personal goals. Students will develop a strong voice to express thoughts and ideas in the community, the confidence to showcase their talents, and academic and personal successes in preparation for entry into college in the world of work. And we've talked about how visions and mission statements and they're words, but it is the responsibility and obligation of the leaders and the educators in the district to live up to those words and to turn those words into action. So thank you to the school committee for your input into this budget. Next slide, please. So tonight's agenda, we'll do a budget presentation. We'll provide you with the preliminary assessments to the towns of Erin and Shirley, and we'll take questions. Next slide, please. So as I stated, district enrollment has stayed pretty stable, but as all districts in the Commonwealth, and I would say around the country, due to the pandemic, enrollments are down. And so we are down 79 students this year as compared to last year. I have presented to you several breakdowns of students that are being homeschooled or, in our remote and hybrid models. Our student population, our students out of district, has remained pretty steady as well. This year, we had an increase of 1 student at 35 students. The East Shirley Regional High School has 357 students, and their change from last year is 17 students down. The East Shirley Regional Middle School has an increase of 3 students. The Laura White is down 12 students, and the Page Hilltop is down 53. Now that's a large number, but that's due to the lower numbers in kindergarten and the lower numbers in preschool, in addition to parents that decided to homeschool and maybe go to another district, depending on the learning model that they wanted. So all in all, we have a decrease of 20. The next segment is choice out, excuse me. And we've been tracking this since FY16, and we did have an increase from 20 to 21. And again, we are looking at those districts, but we know that some of it has to do with the pandemic and childcare. And but overall, we're still down 21 students from where we started in FY16. Choice in, could you just, thank you, Mike. Sorry, just go back 1 second, please. No, they have, yeah, thank you. Choice in, again, we have 142, 118 students in FY21, and some of those school choice students do graduate, and so that's how you see a decrease in numbers. Next slide, please. And we always look at students in our charter schools in the area. And again, if you look at FY21, 36 students from Erie attended charter school, 26 students from Shirley, with a total of 62 students in the district. The change, we saw a decrease from FY20 to FY21, the current school year, down 1 for Erie, down 4 students for Shirley, overall decrease for the district, 5. And then again, the change from FY16 to 17, we've seen a decrease of 7 students for Erie, 9 for Shirley, and then 16 for the district. The Neshoba Tech, as you know, is our vocational school. And as I've said every year about a vocational school and even a charter school, we do not want students leaving our district if they feel they're not getting a good education. But there are different models of schooling that are better fits for students. So there are students that want to pursue a vocational education. And so last year, FY21, we had 51 students, which was an increase of 3 in Erie and an increase of 3 in Shirley. So overall, there was an increase of 6 students from the prior year. But our numbers are still down. If you look at the district numbers from where we started in FY16, we still have a decrease of students going out to the Neshoba Tech. Next slide, please. These are special education numbers. Mrs. Bozak is on tonight, and she monitors these numbers daily, if not weekly, monthly. And so our total district enrollment is in FY20. Remember, this is the October 1st report. FY21, we had 1,638 students. Of those, 317 were special education. And as I noted in an earlier slide, 35 of those are in out-of-district placements based on their disability, which would better serve those students and meet their educational needs. So our total special education population is 352 students in the district. We have seen an increase in our population of students with disabilities. And as I've noted at several school committee meetings, we are seeing an increase in our ASD population, students that have autism and that are on the spectrum. And Mrs. Hamill, who presented earlier with Grace Audette, she is the Director of Student Services and oversees our early childhood program. And so she really has done a fabulous job in providing services, ABA services to students so we can keep them in district. Next slide, please. English language enrollment has remained pretty steady since 2016-17. You can see the district 59, 56, 64, 57, and we're at 58. 8 of those students are at the high school, 9 are at the middle school, 8 are at Laura White, and 33 are at Page Hilltop. And a reminder that we have our newcomer / beginner program at Page Hilltop. So because we have 2 elementary schools, when a student enrolls at Laura White and may be identified as needing English language services, and they're a newcomer or a beginner, we do transport them over to Page Hilltop so that we can provide them with the required or recommended time for English instruction. So they may gain English proficiency. Next slide, please. The special out-of-districts costs, you know that we watch these very carefully. They're a big part of the budget. Now, remember, we have, students can be in residential placements or in day placements. And I think at this time, most of our students are in day placements. And so this year, projected costs are going to range from $36,663 to $312,344. Now, I remind that this $312,344 could be for one placement. So at this time, it's about almost 9% of our total budget for our out-of-district costs. Next slide, please. At this time, Mr. Plunkett is going to begin this part of the presentation. Mr. Plunkett.
Thank you, Dr. Malone, Madam Chair, school committee members. Before I start in on the slides, I just wanted to go over a few key highlights of the budget. The operating budget is down 1.9%. The assessment to the towns is that the total operating assessment is 2.3%. And the total of all funds as compared to last year is down 1.64%. Another couple of notes is on the middle school debt. That note is winding down and it will be done in 2026. It goes down about $10,000 each year. So that combined with a slight increase in Shirley's residential foundation blend, they're up. Shirley's up to 44% for that blend as compared to 42.6. So we have a little bit of shift of the debt moving over to Shirley and off of air. So looking pretty good.
Excuse me,
You have
Mr.
the RLC numbers. Oh, go ahead.
Excuse me,
Joyce?
I'm sorry, are we on a different slide than what you're?
Yeah,
discussing?
Grace, I
have
just asked Mr. Tebow to call up the other budget. So Mike's gonna, yeah. The one you had at first, Mike.
It's item 8A1 there.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Thank you.
That might make sense now. Thank you.
This is the totals page. And I was just going over the highlights from the totals. Keep in mind that the RLC has not been set this year. So we're using the numbers from FY21 as provided by DESI. So those will change once the Chapter 70, the foundation budget and Chapter 70 has been established. So those numbers may change. So this assessment number of 2.3% may change. So that's subject to change. As you know, this is the first page is the total page. All of the cost centers roll up to this page. And then behind that is the assessment detail and then all the detail for all the different cost centers. So with that, I'd like to go back, Mike, to the PowerPoint and start with the drivers. This is where we start with our large expenditure lines. The top section of this graph, this chart, deals with the general fund revenue. And we are down quite a bit this year. And that is mostly due to the transfers from E&D that we made last year to the FY21 budget. We do not have E&D certified at this point, so it is not part of the equation. It is not in our general fund budget at this time. Also keep in mind that these E&D transfers to the general fund, specifically on this from FY21, was offset by FY21 expenditures. So it's basically in and out. Last year, we did have the regional transportation reimbursement fund, was 149,000, and that reduced the assessment. So we needed to make that up on this year's budget. So the second section is dealing with our larger expenditures when we're building the budget. And what we've done, we've been able to lower these expenditures. We do have an increase for health insurance. We were told to anticipate a 5 to 7% increase in the health insurance for this year. We were able to decrease the salary increases. Last year, we had bumped up that number for FY21 to handle the second year of the teachers' salary schedule that was in the new contract, which included the new lanes for columns for M45 and M60. So we have we've adjusted for that because we've already increased those salaries and they're in the current budget. We've also had some savings for net metering. We continue to see a savings there. The high school, Laura White and Page Hilltop. So we reduce electricity and the health offset. That is a sunset. So as we lose former air teachers to retirement, they would come off of that and we get to reduce that over time. So that is sunsetting. We're also able to reduce McKinney-Vento transportation and remove the OPEB valuation because that is every other year. So we're able to reduce these lines, these selected lines by about 162,000. And the last section is for selected revenue, revolving fund revenue. And we're seeing a change of an increase to the revolving fund revenue of 24,000. And that's based specifically on school choice, which we've increased a little bit to draw down on our fund balance, which is pretty significant. So we want to make sure that we spend that down a little bit each year. Any questions on next slide is the history of the budget. The general fund, like I said before, is down 1.8%. The total of all funds, 33,036,841 is down 1.64%. The excluded debt is pretty steady, and that is allocated based on the residential and foundation enrollment. And then the last is all funds at 31,657,262. That's minus the debt is a 1.7% decrease for FY22. Next slide is the assessment. Now the assessment at this point with the RLC, the same as the FY21, we have an operating assessment of $19,740,679, which is an increase of $438,457. That's a 2.3 increase total for the operating assessment. And you can see how it trended over the years. And we've been really trying to watch and keep that down and save where we can. Make sure that the towns can handle it. Next slide, Mike. Revenue. Now this is our FY22 proposed or preliminary budget compared to our budget from last year. And this shows the top section is the revenue we had last year, 9,918,000. Proposed in FY22, we have 9,774,000, which is down $143,000, which is mainly due to the regional transportation fund not being in the budget this year. That was one time. The balance we had left over from last year, we used as a revenue in FY21. So this year we're making that up through our decreases in our expenditures. The bottom section shows the charges. We are holding these level. We're hoping we're being a little conservative there. So there's no net effect, no change in the charges from last year. We're holding those the same. And so total effect on the revenue compared to last year is $143,000 less than we had last year. Next slide is the excess and deficiency. As we've gone through the years, we have been able to grow this, except for FY16 when we had the deficit in the capital fund for the high school project while we were awaiting reimbursement. And FY19, which was certified last January, we had 1.15 million. We transferred 650,000 to the general fund and 151,000 to capital stabilization. And the DOR, I contacted them last week. They are working on our E&D certification as we speak, and we should have that any day now. Next slide is the foundation enrollment, which the allocation of our budget is developed for Aaron Shirley based on students that we're responsible for at each town. So we have, we're seeing a slight increase to Shirley, 7/100ths of a percent. Because it's a 5-year rolling average, it does really moderate that any change. So you're seeing a 7/100ths of a change for Shirley up, and Air was down the same corresponding 7/100ths over that 5-year period. So there is a slight increase for Shirley's allocation on any expenditures over net school spending. And the next slide is the operating assessment. As I stated before, the operating assessment is at total operating assessment without debt is $19,740,679, which is a $438,000 increase, 2.3%. To Air, it's $11,767,769, which is a $241,000 increase, 956, 2.1%. And Shirley is $7,972,911, which is an increase of $196,502, or 2.5%.
Thank you, Bill. Does anybody have any questions or comments on that?
Madam Chair, if I may, Superintendent Malone, just a reminder to the committee, this is a preliminary budget. And so certainly the committee can, look at it between now and the next meeting, and we can meet individually with any members or talk at any time after you get a chance to look at it more closely. But I do have some information that was released today that the governor is planning to release his budget on January 27th. All legislation needs to be filed by February 19th. And we also expect that ESSER 2, if you recall, I told you about ESSER 2, another round of stimulus funds that will be coming to the states and towns, and education should be released in about 2 weeks.
This sounds like that they're on a better schedule this year. Am I forgetting dates? Because it seemed like there were a lot of these numbers we didn't get into, like into, I don't know, April, May, June. Do you think we're going to see that this year, or sounds like they're being a little bit more aggressive?
Yeah, that's what I was told today in a meeting. So we'll see that, typically the governor's budget is due today, but it was released that he would be putting out his numbers on January 27th. And I think, as Mr. Plunkett described, so we don't have the RLC numbers yet, so we don't have some of the numbers as well. So we always build a budget based on the fact that we have to, present to the towns and have a approved budget by the school committee, 45 days in advance of a town meeting. So we always start early, and certainly this is subject to change. And as we get numbers, Mr. Plunkett and I will make adjustments to the budget and bring it back to the committee.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments they'd like to do at this time?
There's a lot of information. Obviously, it's a very big package. There's a lot of information here, but I think the overall scope of the package is very realistic. I'd like to thank Mary and Bill and the rest of the team, because they're certainly aware of the types of financial situations that the people of the towns and the towns collectively are in. And I think that they really work very hard to make things as tenable as they can be. We still have the most important job to do, educating our children, but we're understanding that we're not in a vacuum, and I laud them for taking this first run through for where it is. A lot of numbers are still up in the air. We'll be waiting to see what the state does in a lot of avenues, but absolutely superior work for this point in the budget process. Really tremendous work.
Thank you.
I think all of us say thank you and appreciate this going forward to get a first step into it, and so nicely presented also. Anyone else? I'm sure we'll come back with more questions at some point. Moving on then to 8B, establishment of policy subcommittee. This is something we have been working on and thinking about and agonizing with. And it seems like at this point, we should go ahead and establish that subcommittee of 3 members. And I think one of the discussions was Mr. Quinty's policy there would probably be, we would probably rescind that, that policy and put in a policy subcommittee. I would appreciate comments and ideas on this and who might want to serve on it. Don't everyone speak at once.
So Joyce, okay, go ahead, Cheryl. I was just gonna say,
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I'm just a little confused. So are we looking to establish a subcommittee of 3? And we would forego that tertiary, secondary, primary scenario? I guess I'm just trying to figure out.
That would be probably, that's probably the way the idea is going. We certainly could, policy subcommittee could bring the Massachusetts Association of School Committees in on it. And generally the idea is to take a whole section at a time and do all the policies in one section. And because we already have it online, we're actually fairly far ahead in some of this. But so this is on here for everybody to give their ideas. If we can go ahead and establish the policy subcommittee, it would be the will of the committee. Carol, for you?
I was just going to say, I just want what's going to work best and get us through some of the policies that really need some editing and changing. So I jump back and forth between the two, and I will just say what I said earlier. I have a hard time saying no. So if it's the will of the committee to have a subcommittee, I will be willing to be part of that subcommittee.
Generally, historically, subcommittees are very successful because they work stuff very concisely, then bring pretty well presented policies forward so that, you know, it's and they've all been vetted at that time. And so it's generally historically has worked very well. We had a policy subcommittee a couple of years ago, and because people left the committee, it just got kind of, I don't know, lost in the shuffle and no one focused on it. So Mr. Quinty, since you had some ideas here, do you want to jump in on this?
Yeah, I would. I mean, I'll go along with anything that everybody wants to do. What I would recommend at this point that we table a vote tonight, but I think clearly we need to do something with the Title IX policy that's kind of driving the whole thing right now. As I looked at it last time, that Title IX, the requirements and what they're looking for out of the new Title IX policy actually covers about 5 or 6 policies that we currently have. So there's some consolidation that needs to happen. Yeah, I think that there's some consolidation that needs to happen. And I think if we, I know that John was going to put something together. I also wanted to find out if we had some legal input for exactly the policies that MASC put out. I thought were totally unusable as far as including it in a policy manual for the district. But I recognize the fact that, you know, the world we're in today is different. So I'd like to see exactly which aspects of law have to be covered inside the policy. And I think if we were going to do anything, we would get some members together to try to look at what's required for Title IX policy, take a look at the 5 or 6 or 7 or so policies that we have that sort of encompass that and redraft those. And then if we get that out of the way, then we can make a decision whether you really need to have a standing policy subcommittee. My gut feel, having been a member of the last policy subcommittee, my gut feel is that I don't think you need a standing committee for it. But I think this Title IX thing is a whole different animal. And I think that thing could probably benefit from having more input once we get it. So I'm more inclined to say kind of wait on establishing the committee or establish if we're going to establish anything, we'd establish a policy subcommittee to deal with our policy manual with respect to current Title IX requirements. I think that particular charge is certainly warranted.
Jonathan did a fantastic job of massaging and working on that Title IX policy and including some of our policies into it. And you have it in your packet tonight. So we could take some time and review that at this point. What does everybody else think?
So can I just add
Please,
sort of to go back to the subcommittee versus the working or the thing. I guess I'm with everyone else where I could go both ways here, but I think it is important that we do have a cadence that we are reviewing. You know, we are what, 9 years out on a lot of these policies that really probably need to be reviewed, as we've talked about, right? The world has changed in so many ways that these policies just, some of them might be fine, but other ones I can think of a few that are needed updating. So I kind of like to see it that kind of the best of both worlds almost, like that we have a consensus among the committee to right away to get a bunch of them disposed of, and that's probably not a great word, but sort of along the lines of what Mr. Quinty proposed, right, where we review them and report back, but then also to have a working group that is really charged with working on those policies that we've come up with, that we've as a consensus come back and said, yeah, we need to work on these, right? Rather than just sort of trying to get it done in this type of meeting isn't going to work, I don't think. I think, you know, we're all trying to have input, but I think it may be an initial, you know, start with a large scale review of these policies where we all take a few and really, and if there's even a thought that it needs to be reviewed, then it gets thrown to the committee for further review. I don't know, but I don't want to get away from the large scale review that I really think we do need to do. And that was one of the things I actually liked about Mr. Quinty's idea, was that more of us would be getting into the policy manual, reviewing it, refreshing ourselves, but also, you know, a faster cadence on reviewing them. So that's sort of where I'm at on that. As far as the Title IX policy goes, what you have in your packets was an attempt at, we can or can't review it tonight. It doesn't matter to me. Just wanted to give some background on it. I liked in our original policy that we talked about how harassment is, you know, not tolerated and is not, they didn't really distinguish about student to teacher or teacher to teacher or student to student, right? It was just a person in the district should not be harassed. And I kept going back to Mr. Quinty's, please don't treat people like crap. So I tried to really not delineate student to student or faculty to student or whatever that way. It's just, right, it's a person in the district who's either on a bus or whatnot. And then the other thing was I tried to bring in try to make it just harassment and a sexual harassment policy, not necessarily a sexual harassment policy. It's a lot of words. I tried to wordsmith it and it just kept getting longer and longer. But again, starting point, and if no one likes it and we want to move on, that's fine. I have no problems with that either. But that's just sort of where I started with, and happy to discuss further.
So, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Jonathan. I know what kind of work that was, so I applaud you for attempting it. Mr. Leone?
Yeah, I want to thank Jonathan for the work that he did on that,
You lost your microphone, Joe.
you still hear me?
No,
Couldn't hear you after the beginning.
Okay, I was just complaining about having to read that 11 pages. That policy is certainly not my thing. There's an awful lot of legalese in there that I just don't understand. And so, you know, how we go about reviewing policies, I really don't have a strong opinion. But what I will say is that when the EDI committee reviewed the resolution for that MASC put down about racism, we did that together, and we did it on Zoom, and it was really a fabulous experience listening to the different points of view that people had about each line in the resolution. Now, given that was not 11 pages worth of sexual harassment policy, but I do think that because of that experience, that there is a benefit to reviewing the policies as a committee as opposed to an individual, and then looking at it in another way. So I would probably lean towards appointing a subcommittee to review policy.
So if I could jump in, I don't know if some of us long timers, Joyce and Jim, and maybe others, remember we used to have a list of policies that we would review every meeting. I think it was when we were up, you know, transitioning to the new district, and we were looking at all the policies to create our policy manual. And every meeting we had 1 or 2 or sometimes 3, or depending on the length of them, and went through them like that. So it might be, to Joe's point, of some value to do some of that work at school committee meetings for some of those that really require more attention than some others. As far as the harassment policy and the need for the legalese to be in there, I think that this is a very, you know, it's very technical with regard to complying with the law. And I think that that's probably necessary. And I think, you know, anything we do, we'd want to have some legal review of anything we're going to present if it's not something if it's something we're drafting on our own, just to make sure that what we've done is in compliance.
Well, and that's one of our advantages, because we certainly can hand any of that to Massachusetts Association of School Committees and have them vet it and make recommendations on what we write. Is it too much? Is it too little? Is it legal? So it is our job. And, you know, however we think we can progress the best on it. When we did do regionalization, we went through the whole policy book and did 3 of them at a time so that we could have that completed. And a lot of that work was done by the administration as far as cleaning them up and wordsmithing them a little bit and then presenting them to us. So it was a huge help, but it was a huge job. And we did get through it. Of course, it's not perfect and it wasn't the best, but when we're looking at stuff just individually, I always think bouncing off someone else and reading it out loud and doing it as a subcommittee, I think could be very beneficial. And then anytime we want, we could have MSAC, we could hand them a bunch and have them review them and send them back with ideas or whatever you would like to do.
I think we already did get input from MASC.
Well, they gave us the Title IX one that they had created.
Yeah, and then we all looked at our own policy, the policy from the attorneys, and that one, and gave Jonathan a bunch of notes. Sorry, Jonathan, I was trying to make mine as readable as possible. I think we need to get through this policy before, like this one's hard. And I think Michelle is right. There is some real legal pieces to this that we can't just omit. And so it's not going to be as readable as, say, some of the other policies that we'll review, only because of that legal piece. as much as it's easy to say, don't treat people like crap, we need to be very specific about what behaviors are not okay. I write behavioral plans. I've been doing it for years and years. I am so specific about expectations for behavior and consequences for not following those expectations, that it's really hard for anybody to question. If we aren't very specific, it leaves too much room for questioning. And I don't think we ever want to be in that position with staff or students. So maybe what we can do right now is just have Jonathan kind of go over how he took all our notes and combined all of the policies that we have been looking at for a couple of weeks. Would that make sense?
Yeah, Jonathan did a fantastic job here. And it's very interesting to put an overview policy and then all the sub individual requirements sometimes make it sometimes easier for people to look at your policy. But Jonathan, you said you wanted to present something?
Yeah, I can, if we want to spend a few minutes. I think, Mr. Tebow, if you have number 10 there, if you want to just bring it up, I can.
Well, do we want to do that now, or do we want to move to that item, take care of this item and then move to that item?
Oh.
Well, we're
Right now,
we're combining everything tonight, Joe, it looks like so.
Well, we're talking about the subcommittee, and then this is jumping down to 10 to talk about harassment. So I'm just saying, do we want to make a motion to table the subcommittee and then move on?
I think you made a motion to table the subcommittee, but I didn't hear a second on it.
Well, I don't know if that was a motion. I think Jim suggested it.
So what is the will of the committee? Do we want to go ahead and start with the subcommittee and get it established, and go ahead and work on this tonight?
I mean, I think whichever way we go with regard to, how we're going to go about reviewing the policies, it definitely won't hurt to have a subcommittee in place that will kind of drive which policies we're going to review and on which levels. And even if it's working towards the plan that Jim had established, the subcommittee could work together to do that and distribute the policies if we decide to go in that direction. So I don't think there's any harm in establishing the subcommittee. And then we can kind of work out the details of how we're going to move forward. But at least then it's 3 people or however many people are on the subcommittee making those decisions.
Is that a motion?
It can be.
Second.
I'll make a motion that we establish a policy subcommittee. How about that?
Second.
Motion and seconded. Does anybody have any other comments? Keep in mind that the subcommittee presentation will still have first and second readings in the full school committee. So no one is left not knowing what's going on. It's motion and seconded. Does anyone else wish to have any questions or make any comments before we vote? Seeing none, I would ask Michelle to do a roll call vote, please.
Mr. DeForge?
Aye.
Mrs. Granger?
Aye.
Mr. Leone?
Aye.
Mr. Quinty?
Aye.
Mrs. Reshoots?
Aye.
Mrs. Simmons?
Aye.
So that is a unanimous vote to establish a subcommittee. And then the next question is, do we have people raising their hands to be on it? Keep in mind, this is going to change in just a couple of months because we're going to reorganize it. But I see Cheryl jumping up and down and never saying no.
Yeah.
Someone else?
Yeah,
I
you
see
can.
you're looking up, Jonathan. So
You can put my name on there. It's fine. I figure I've started down this road with this policy. I can at least lend some time there. And
if you can get through this one, you can do the others.
It would be 3 members. Jim, are you jumping into this?
If people need someone on there, I would do it. I don't know if I think I understand where you want to take it. It's in a different place where I want it to go, but if you think I would be helpful on the committee, I would certainly serve on it.
Okay, so we have Jonathan, Jim and Cheryl. And if someone would make a motion to put them on the subcommittee, I don't know what I want to say, I'm sorry. To nominate them for the subcommittee, I couldn't think what I was doing exactly.
I'll make a motion that we name Cheryl Simmons, Jim Quinty, and Jonathan DeForge to the policy subcommittee.
Second.
Second, motion and seconded. Michelle, would you give us a vote, please?
Mr. DeForge,
Aye.
Mrs. Granger,
Aye.
Mr. Leone,
Aye.
Mr. Quinty,
All right.
Mrs. Reshoots,
Aye.
Mrs. Simmons.
Aye.
Thank you all very much. This will, we're going to keep trying. It's going to work. So then do we want to discuss sexual harassment, just combining all this together instead of skipping around?
We're here. Let's just keep going through it.
Yep.
Sounds good,
Agreed.
Jonathan. Go ahead.
All right. Mr. Tebow, if you could please. Number 10. Oh, number 10. There we go. So, first off, obviously it's color coded. These were the source documents that I used. Other inputs, so to speak, is me changing words from, student to person or the like, or some of Cheryl's comments or other people's comments that I took. If you want to scroll down, Mr. Tebow, that would be outstanding. Yeah, it's the second page. Oops, go up one page. You may need to zoom out a little bit. There's a lot of words. So as it was sort of stated earlier, I tried to take a very high level overview at the beginning of what is harassment, how do we define it? And then if you scroll down a little bit, so what, harassment is described as such. And some of what I struggled with was, in some cases, we have consequences for students and we have consequences for employees. There's some other people that may be in, I think it might have been Cheryl that said this to me, fans at a game. Now, granted, we don't have fans at a game right now, but that could be a situation that we find ourselves in. So I wasn't quite sure how to incorporate perhaps consequences for those actions. And then much like the MASC policy, there's a section for harassment, and then there's another section for sexual harassment and how that is specifically defined, more specifically than harassment. So if we scroll down to the next page again. Again, these came right out of MASC's policies. MASC policy got very wordy, and I wasn't a fan of that. I tried to pull some of the higher level out of it. So, and then continuing down, we just can more go through our introduction to what it is. And then it also talks about retaliation, because that is certainly a form, could be an issue. I tried to move that up. A couple of the other policies had it, but it almost seemed like a footnote at the end. And I thought it was more important for people to understand that, retaliation is also not tolerated. Scroll down, please. The other thing I thought was important was to have it pretty clear as to who the Title IX coordinator was. In this case, it's Mr. Plunkett. Originally, I had thought about trying to make a very high level, like front cover page, and I couldn't get there because it was just too wordy. So this is what sort of ended up, but I did want it to be clear who our Title IX coordinator was. I think where we can also have some improvement is if we call out the principals or like the building level sort of idea, I guess. I'm not really sure there. And then, you know, we do talk about the fact that some of this may be escalated to appropriate authorities if necessary. If you can scroll down, Mr. Tebow. Thank you. So complaints and reports of harassment. This came out of the bullying policy, our policy, bullying manual, I think it was. And I tried to really mimic the two sections, but it's obviously harder depending on the type of harassment. In the end, we want people to know that they should be, you know, how they should, we should be able to make it easy for people to report these problems that they're having. And so if we continue down further, it does talk about in sexual harassment, reports can be made. The complainant does not need to be the person that reports it. And then we get in, if we keep scrolling down, we get into procedures and, you know, what should happen. Sorry. So again, here's this procedure came out of the bullying one. And then we have the harassment policy. And I guess what I would ask for feedback from administration is this something that happened? Like, did I make the right statements as far as what's, like how it's handled in the district? I just want to make sure that it matches exactly the correct procedure. And yes, unfortunately, there is a lot of words in here. And I did make it longer because I really tried to make it a harassment policy and include sexual harassment, but just sort of the, you know, I didn't want to limit it just to sexual harassment because I thought a lot of it was in duplication. I didn't want to have it in two different policies. So keep scrolling down. Here's again, this is the sexual harassment policy. I tried to give clear headings so people could find it easily. I would envision maybe an index of some sort at the top level, maybe. You know, one thing that is interesting is we can offer informal resolution, which is, you know, we don't need to do a full investigation. So that was something newer that I don't believe our policy exhibited or talked about before. And if you continue to scroll down, you know, there's each subsection of the procedure is listed. So there's a, you know, there's a notice, written notice, investigation, final determination. Continue down. And I don't mean to just gloss over these. It's really, you know, we should be reading these. And I like the approach that, you know, Joe sort of talked about is maybe we break this up as a policy subcommittee. Maybe we break it up into a couple pages over a couple days and really specific, because taken at the whole, it's a lot. So keep going down. Yeah, keep going. Again, this is the sexual harassment policy or procedure. We go into appeals, how an appeal may take place if either party of the complainant or the respondent does not like the decision or does not feel it's correct, they can appeal. If you can scroll down some more, please. The records, I could not find anything on what our record keeping requirement is for bullying or harassment, so I would need some assistance there. You know, for sexual harassment, it's very clear that came out of MASC, both MSC and the lawyer's policy that we need to keep them for 7 years. And then I think finally we get to the external grievance procedure, which gives folks an alternative to the procedure that's been outlined going forward or previously. You can also file grievances with these various departments or organizations, I'm sorry, that are outside of ASRSD. So that's obviously included. And if you continue to scroll down, there are some definitions further. Oh, I'm sorry, training. So this will define what training our staff, again, the bullying manual sort of defines the training for that section. Sexual harassment training, again, it was just taken out of the other policies. And then finally, we get to definitions. So if we scroll down, these are just the words that we used in various places. The lawyer's policy did a very good job of defining a lot of these, so just copied them. I took out a couple that did not, the word was not used in our policy, so to save some space. That's really it. Again, if anyone has any comments, I'm happy to, you find something you really don't like, or you do like, or you think it should be reordered, happy to listen. Or again, start all over again. Doesn't really matter to me. So, that's it.
Comments, anyone?
Just to thank you, Jonathan, for putting all this together. This is a lot of work, and working off of, it looks like 4 or 5 different sources can't be easy. So thanks for doing that. I'm just curious, I'd have to look to see where the definitions in the attorney's policy that you have at the end, were those at the end in their policy as well?
They were at the beginning, and my methodology for moving them was simply to get to the meat of the policy before the definitions. But
okay.
The way you're asking that, it sounds like maybe there's a specific order it's supposed to be in.
Well, there's no defined order, I don't think, but I think it just, probably like training wise, like how you're trained to just define things that people will see throughout the course of the policy. So that's probably why they had it at the beginning. So I don't know. That's only one thing I would just point out is maybe that stuff,
I think that was my suggestion, was to put it at the end, only because it, I was trying to read it as a flow through the policy, and it sort of like would stop and be like, oh,
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that that's kind of like a flow thing. I was just curious if that's how they had it, just because I would have expected to see it at the beginning. But if it really doesn't matter. I mean, the definition will be there and you can know where to look for it. Especially if we would have any type of table of contents at the beginning, since this is fairly lengthy. The fact that you could just point to, page 7 or whatever, and someone could go look would be helpful. So I guess it doesn't really matter, as long as there's a way that, if someone's reading the policy and they see a word they're not really sure, at least they know that there's definitions provided.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes, please.
I just would like to recommend to the committee, I sent you the recommendation from our attorney, that while many policies in a district are matters of local policies and preferences, this particular policy is a policy that must contain certain elements, and that some of the language he recommends that it be reviewed because different language changes may have implications. So I would just recommend to the committee, when you have this in your final draft, that you send it to Attorney Bresnahan or MSAC, because again, you wouldn't want to not have the legal requirements and elements that must be in here.
Agreed.
That would always be something like this, that you want to do that. It wouldn't be a question. And I don't think this really constitutes the first read. I think Jonathan did a very good job here. And I was kind of surprised when I picked it up, because I didn't expect it to read as well as it did. And I think putting the Title IX reference right at the beginning, where people can see it and they don't have to go 10 pages and then, where's this? What do I do? I think we could, if someone wants to have some other input, I don't think this is ready for a first read situation. if anyone wants to disagree with that, we're perfectly welcome to.
I would almost say that if we get to a final draft, I would prefer to put it in front of the attorney first. And then
Yeah. before
have
we
it
vote on it.
reviewed and then bring it back as, okay, we've agreed that this is good. The lawyer has agreed that this is good. Here's our first draft. Here's our second draft. Our first read, second read, sorry.
Yeah, I think you're right on that, particularly this one, which is maybe the hardest policy anyone's ever done. So we have a new, does someone want to tighten this up or review it? Or since we have a new policy subcommittee, do you guys wish to meet? And
Madam Chair?
and pound on it a little bit? Yes, sir.
Is this, Jonathan, is this available to people? You know, like there are people on the DEI committee, advisory committee that wanted to be able to look at the policy and perhaps have some input if they so desired. We made it clear to them that they had that right to do that. Is your draft available to them so they can take a look at that?
It'll be in our minutes.
The whole draft?
Yeah, I would. I'll defer to Mrs. Town here, but this will be posted on our website in short order. Yes.
Yes, any documents that the committee reviews tonight are available to the public.
Okay.
If they want to send me an email, I can, provide the document, or you're welcome to provide it to the committee members as well.
Great, thank you, Michelle. So I would just encourage any DEI committee members that would like to have some say or input into this sexual harassment policy that you look at Jonathan's draft and send suggestions to him or to me and or Michelle, and we can distribute them to the committee that will certainly overview it before we make a final draft.
Okay.
Joyce, I have just two comments. One is just from a stylistic point. I saw a couple of items through the policy that say, notification will be consistent with CMR, and then it lists that. I don't mind having the legal references at the end of the policy, but I think if there are specific requirements that are in that CMR, they should be a part of the policy body. As a just stylistic point, I don't like having to read something and then going to have to find another research document to figure out what's in the body of the document that I'm reading. That's just a personal observation. Secondly, I think we can save a lot of time if we can get from the attorney's office exactly what bullet points they want to make sure we handle. Because I don't want to, and I don't want Jonathan or anyone else to have to go through a document, have them review it and say, hey, you missed these items, if they know in advance what those items are. If there are particular subject items that they want us to deal with that our document has to address, I don't mind taking that as a part of the review, but I don't want to give them review after the fact if they haven't given us a roadmap. So we'll have some reasonable chance of completing this in a reasonable time frame. So is it possible to get that?
Well, but the green text there was from the lawyers.
Yeah.
So we have included, or Jonathan has, I shouldn't say me, have included those in there already.
Well, they wrote what they wanted. I read the attorneys, what they put in for their writing, but that's their interpretation from some other list of things that they're trying to address. I don't want to try to reword something the attorneys did. What I'm looking for is like, look, the attorney, if they come back, it's like, look, you have to address this issue, and you have to address this issue, and you have to address this issue. We can cover all of those bases, but I don't want to start with what they put out because I was singularly unimpressed with their document and with the MASC document. But if they could give us what elements they want in our document, then we can certainly, because we want to comply. We know there's a legal requirement, but I don't want to start working from a piece of boilerplate, which is their interpretation of what they think we should do.
Mr. Quinty, if I may, I think the policy that Murphy and Hesse gave to us, I think they give to many of their clients. So certainly you may do a side-by-side to identify some of the elements that are in theirs and that have to be in here. But I might suggest, I think it's not only just the legal requirements, but you want to look at the wording and how you word it and what those implications could be should you have a case. So I would just suggest maybe you consider sending this draft and saying, do we have everything in it? We need it, is the language, and maybe you start with that.
I think that would be a good way to proceed so that we move forward on this as quickly as possible.
I like that plan.
I agree with that too. I think that makes the most sense. That way they can say, you know, you're missing this, or, you know, you've hit everything, you know, you need, and then you can, I mean, I think no matter what, like Dr. Malone said, we have to be very careful about how things are worded. So I think getting their viewpoint would be pretty helpful.
And the other thing that, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think earlier rather than later will save us from having to double back a number of times. I think the sooner we get input, the better off we're going to be. At least when we start our review, we'll have some reasonable idea where the areas of concern are.
Okay, all right. So let's maybe if we could send this to them and let them pound on it, and then we'll be a good starting place.
Okay, so the committee, okay, so the Willow Committee, you're directing me to send it to the attorney and let him vet this first draft.
Yes.
Okay, excellent.
The first draft.
Yeah. Don't let them think we're a bunch of idiots. Tell them this is.
No. Well, Jonathan incorporate a lot of MSAC's policy as well, so I'm sure it's fine. But okay, I will get it to attorney.
Again,
don't tell them what I thought of their policy. All right.
I don't know, Jim. You said it in
Throw
public.
you under the bus, Jim.
I think you're on the hook for it.
This meeting's recorded, Jim.
Yes, they are. Anyway, I'd like to thank Jonathan
not
again.
watching this meeting, I can tell you.
That was a monumental task, and it was very good. Very good. Okay, so I think we've captured something that we've been avoiding, afraid of. So we would move to item 7, superintendent's report. Dr.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. First item is preschool and kindergarten registration information. Just reminding our families that registration will be, information sessions will be held tomorrow, January 21st at 9:30 a.m. and January 26th at 6:30 p.m. Information is available on our website. There are flyers where a family may click and receive the application packet on the website. The flu vaccine, we were notified last Friday from the Mass Department of Public Health that they are removing the requirement for flu vaccination for attendance in childcare, preschool, primary, secondary, and post-secondary education. Preliminary data show that this has been a mild flu season to date, presumably as people have received their seasonal flu vaccine and have been adhering to mask wearing and social distancing due to COVID-19. Given the intensive Commonwealth-wide efforts regarding COVID-19 vaccination, DPH wants to alleviate the burden to obtain flu vaccination and focus on continuing COVID-19 vaccination efforts. And we'd like to thank our families for doing their best to adhere to the requirement. And even though the vaccine is not required, we are still encouraging families to get the vaccine. Pool testing for COVID-19, we continue to investigate bringing pool testing to the district. At this point, we are still looking into the logistics and the cost to determine if this would be a good fit. We have met with Jim Gareffi from the Neshoba Associated Boards of Health, as well as Harvard Public Schools that have offered pool testing to their district. We continue to work with DESE on their role of pool testing, and when it's determined we can provide this service at school, we will send out a survey to families and staff so that we can get an idea of how many people would want to participate. Internship at the high school. We're excited to announce that ASRSD Regional High School is going to be participating in the high school senior internship and education program. This program is funded through DESE and implemented by Mass Hire in partnership with area schools. This program will provide paid work-based learning experiences in the field of education to highly motivated high school seniors in good academic standing while supporting their school and community-based partners. The goals of this program are to offer high school seniors the opportunity to complete a paid work-based learning education internship, accelerate the growth of the teacher pipeline in Mass with a particular focus on increasing racial ethnic diversity, improve educational outcomes for underserved students, particularly younger learners due to the pandemic. And we have 5 interested seniors. We've submitted their names to Mass Hire, and they will be working with us throughout the process. Tournament of Educators, in an effort to have some fun and to support our staff in their collaboration around the use of technology and innovative practices, Kristen Mayo, our digital literacy specialist, and Mike Tebow, Director of Technology, developed the Tournament of Educators. All staff are able to earn points for activities they complete or have completed recently in the areas of technology integration and innovation. The tournament website will be revealed to staff within the next few weeks. Big thank you to Kristen Mayo for this idea and all the hard work that she has put into this. Last meeting, Jonathan DeForge, we presented student attendance rates during this school year during our hybrid and remote learning academies. And Mr. DeForge asked if we would compare this year's attendance to last year's attendance. So Mr. Cleary is going to give you a brief summary of what we found in comparing our attendance rates of 1920 to 2021. Mr. Cleary.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Malone. So this sheet, basically what I did here is I took a snapshot of our attendance rates from the return to school after the winter break and compared those from our attendance rates from this year, the 2021 school year, to the 2020 school year last year. The averages that were, this didn't come out perfectly on the PDF version there, but if you notice where those green circles are, that is showing kind of the comparison in the overall attendance rate at the top of each column by school. So at Page Hilltop, you'll notice, and they're highlighted in either red or blue. Red would indicate a change in the rate. In other words, the attendance rate from 2021 was lower than the attendance rate from 2020. Thank you, Mike. And so on Page Hilltop, that, you know, the rate change is very, very low, nearly the same. Lower White, there's an increase in the attendance rate by 1.5%. At the middle school, there's a decrease by 2.5% approximately. And at the high school, there's a decrease by approximately 4.75% or 5%. When you compare, that is that time period there for phase 2 is our average attendance rate from November when we went into phase 2, which was November 4th, up until the present day. So we've been keeping this running. So the suggestion you made, Jonathan, was a good one for a comparison piece. So pulling all the data together allows us to look at it in a different way. Mike, if you scroll down a little bit to the second half, there's a summary piece. I couldn't fit it all on one page. It's a landscape view of the spreadsheet. And so the rest of this is the district averages. So overall, between last year to this year, our change in attendance rate, we've had a decrease in our attendance rate by about 1.5%. And so as we had shared before, this information has been shared with our principals, our leadership, and specifically, I know that the high school is investigating this a little bit further in terms of the percentage changes and following up on students who have been absent from remote learning and such. So that's a brief summary of the attendance rates for this year.
Thank you so very much. Appreciate it. And, you know, glad to see that there's not too much of a disparity. You know, that we're hopefully keeping kids engaged during the remote learning, so they're not being marked absent. So thank you. Appreciate the effort.
Sure, absolutely. There's been a lot of hard work on making sure that our kids are engaged in the process. So thank you.
So Charlie, does this compare with what you're seeing across the state? Do we know, are they reporting that across the state?
I haven't seen attendance rates for something like this across the state. I would say informally, attendance is a challenge. in remote learning. There are some districts, and you'll see this in national pieces or publications that come out that say, in some of the larger districts in the Commonwealth and in the country, there are students who have essentially gone AWOL, and they don't show up to school at all. Percentage rates are significantly changed from last year. So when we're looking at this and we're seeing that we have a small percentage rate, we're still engaging our students on a daily basis, which is really what we want to do. And our big push over the past couple of years with Attendance Matters and following up with our protocols and processes to make sure that families and students are continuously engaged has been working well for us. And so we're looking to kind of continue that, but obviously we still have work to do.
I think Joyce also, if you don't mind if I step in, it's hard to look at attendance rates from one district to the other this year because of how the programs look different. So if you're looking at what we do and how we take attendance, because we have a lot of live streaming and so the engagement and the attendance piece looks different than from, for example, where I work, where 2 days a week kids are marked present remote, but there's no direct teacher link. So kids could never open their computer, never do an assignment, and they're still being marked present. So it really depends on each district and how their programs are and how they are actually taking attendance. So to look at state levels is nearly impossible.
Yeah, there's so many differences now, and so many people have gone totally.
But
remote
overall,
and a few other things.
Overall, we know that this year has been really difficult attendance wise. I was expecting to see something worse. I'm glad that our attendance rate hasn't dropped that much. That's good news. But we're only halfway through the year, and we all know that COVID fatigue has set in for all of us. So I appreciate this data. Thank you.
And I will add that kudos to our teachers, particularly at the high school, even though you've seen a drop, but teaching your in-person class, your the remote learning academy students in live streaming in the asynchronous cohort, the students that are on their off-day cohort, I think helps with attendance. The trouble with attendance in recording attendance and making sure students are present does lie within the asynchronous learning time. And so the middle school, many of the teachers are doing all three models, the in-person, the live streaming, and the teaching the remote learning academy students. Well, they're all doing the in-person and the remote learning academy students, but not all teachers are live streaming in the asynchronous cohort. So that contributes to attendance because it's tricky to take attendance in an asynchronous model.
I think it's interesting. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Are you still?
Oh, no.
I was just going to say, it's interesting when you look at some of these, the bigger days at the high school, at least, where the attendance is like the 10% days. Those are Wednesdays where the kids are all remote. And I wonder if there's any correlation there between them being remote and the fact that, those are the big days for the percentages, I don't know. And I also think it's hard, like I've said before, with us live streaming, kids that are on a day they're supposed to be in the building can very easily say, well, I'm going to stay home. I can still log on and live stream. So I'm wondering how that impacts the attendance rates. Because they're getting the instruction, but they're not in the building when they're supposed to be in the building.
Right, so they are still marked absent, because if you commit to the hybrid model, then you should be in school on those in-person days.
Right, so it could be we're reporting kids absent that have in fact got the lesson that day because they're able to live stream from home.
Yeah.
So just throwing that out there for why the high school could be, much different than the rest of the schools.
And I think the high school kids, the older juniors and seniors, they sometimes prefer to be in the remote learning academy, and depending on their schedule and their courses, sometimes, I saw a student one day and he said, well, I had Edgenuity in the morning, so I'm just coming in now. So high school students, it's different a little bit as well.
Yeah.
In their learning models. Speaking of high school, I'm going to ask Principal Christie to speak about the high school 2021 graduation robes. Principal Christie?
Thank you, Dr. Malone. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the school committee, and to the audience watching this meeting. As a high school, we've been looking at our procedures to see if we were being inclusive as a community. Over the summer, Dr. Meyer and I met with Ms. Baker, advisor to the ASRHS GSA, to discuss the color of graduation robes. Traditionally, the male students have worn maroon robes at graduation, and the female students have worn white robes at graduation. For a number of students, this has turned a day celebrating the academic achievements of seniors into one where students feel uncomfortable with the gender labels associated with the color of these gowns. On Thursday, January 14th, we met with the senior class over Zoom, and a student presented the idea of wearing a unified graduation gown for all students to the class. Additionally, we sent a poll to all seniors where the highest rate of response came from seniors wishing to wear a unified robe color of maroon with white piping on the sleeves. Last evening, we held a meeting where the families of seniors were invited to attend. A presentation again was given to families from a student, and we looked at how a change to the graduation gown would reflect both the ASRSD vision and mission statements. At this time, I am pleased to announce that after careful consideration, all seniors, staff, district personnel, and school committee members will wear a unified robe at the 2021 graduation. As a school, we are happy to support the voices of our students and to create an inclusive environment for all students.
Thank you, Mr. Christie.
Thank you.
Good job.
John?
Great.
I think it's an outstanding way to continue going. Yeah, it's great. No, thank you. Thank you to the students who brought this forward, or the staff that brought it forward, however it got to you, Mr. Christie. Whoever was willing to speak up and do that, kudos to them.
Thank you, Mr. DeForge. We had a number of folks who were incredibly helpful on this proposal and moving it forward. So I think that this is going to be a really nice inclusive change for the high school.
Good. And graduation day is when? As long as you're here, you might as well announce it so we put it on our calendars.
Absolutely. Give me one moment. I apologize. Let me pull up.
That's all right. I shouldn't have hit you with something.
I want to say
It's like June 4th. It's the first Friday in June.
June 4th.
Yeah.
There you go, Cheryl.
First Friday. Pretty sure now.
Cheryl's got a graduate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do. Yeah, the first Friday, June 4th.
Does Mr. Christie?
Yes, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Just a reminder to the school committee that we are doing a field presentation to the select board in Shirley on Monday night at 6 p.m. And our new college acceptances are Berkeley College of Music, Suffolk University, University of Massachusetts Amherst, and University of New Haven. At this time, I have an announcement to the school committee. I have a letter I'd like to read, please. Dear members of the school committee, I submit to you my intent to retire from the Air Shirley Regional School District effective June 30th, 2021. This was a difficult decision after serving 37 years as an educator. For the last 7 years, I have proudly served as your superintendent of the Air Shirley Regional School District. I am proud of my work and service to the students, staff, and families of this great school district. The towns of Air and Shirley are unique and similar in many ways. The biggest similarity is the commitment of all stakeholders to education. When I came to serve and made my first budget presentation to both towns in my first year, my pinnacle of advocating for a fair and equitable budget was great schools create vibrant communities. 7 years later, this has not changed. Air and Shirley are wonderful towns with incredible residents, and I thank the local officials and all the residents for your trust and support over these last 7 years. Together, we have made great accomplishments and strides in creating a high-quality and equitable educational system for every student in the district. Thank you for your partnership. I thank the Air Shirley Regional School Committee from the bottom of my heart for your enduring and steadfast commitment to the education of students. You have supported key educational decisions every step of the way, whether it be new educational programs, new opportunities for all students, athletics, the annual budget, improvements to facilities, and support and care for the excellent and dedicated faculty and staff. To the administrators, faculty, and staff, thank you for the last 7 years. You too have persevered through ever-evolving and changing conditions in education over the last 7 years, and more strikingly, this last year. What has been so apparent to me over these years is the love and care for the students demonstrated by faculty and staff over and over. The students and families are fortunate to have such dedicated staff. It has been my pleasure to serve the students of this district. The students are just outstanding. During this pandemic, and most recently the opening of in-person schooling during this pandemic, it has broken my heart to witness the conditions which students must adhere to in school, and never with a complaint or disregard for the new norms. From preschool through grade 12, students wear their masks and stay distanced from their peers and teachers. Why? They want to be in school. This speaks volumes to the educational system we have in place and for the teachers and staff they so dearly love. I will continue to serve my school community with the passion, dedication, and hard work I committed to on July 1st, 2014. I will see us through this pandemic, and it's my strongest hope that I can bring the district back to full in-person learning by the end of the school year, whether it's just for a week. It is my hope we can begin to build new athletic fields by the end of the school year. The students deserve fields they can be proud of for generations to come. It is my hope we can give our seniors better days and great memories before they too depart the Air Shirley Regional School District. Thank you.
Joyce, you're muted.
I'm sure everybody wants to jump in, and so I'm going to make it an open floor. And Mary, none of us can believe it was 7 years, and we know everything you have accomplished. And so thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'll go first and then let people go on, because I know everybody wants to say something.
Thank you, Joyce.
They're all dumbfounded. No one can talk.
I'll jump in. This has been an incredible year. And the time that you put in is just absolutely amazing. I don't know, you must operate under a different clock, because you put in like 30 hours a day. And this school system has been so fortunate to have you at the head of it for the last 7 years. I was on that committee that selected you before I was on the school committee, and we made an outstanding choice. And I'm hoping that we have an opportunity to celebrate your retirement at the end of this all, and then we can make some really, really appropriate comments. But Mary, I just cannot thank you enough.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
Everyone's just dumbfounded.
I would like to jump in. So we've been together since you started.
Yes.
And I often say, and I've said this to other people, you know, we've had the right superintendents in place during our course of, you know, regionalization, the right people at the right time. And I don't think that can be any more true for you. You came in, you had expectations for yourself, for your staff, for your students, and everyone rose to that. And you elevated this school district to a level that we are all so proud of and so thankful for everything that you've done, all the time you've given us at the expense of everyone else around you. I know how hard, especially this year with COVID, has been for you. And personally, like I said, I selfishly, say I'm so sad, and I'm really disappointed that we're going to lose you, because you are a gem. But I am so thankful and so happy for you that you're going to have that time back to enjoy what it is you enjoy doing on your own time. I mean, you've just given us all of your time, and we're so appreciative and so grateful for it. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate it.
I will say the same thing. Very, very appreciative that we have had you. And Michelle is right. You were exactly what we needed when this district combined and was off and running. We needed a true leader, and you have been that. I don't think the general public knows how hard you work. And when Joe says 30 hours a day, I would double that. People don't know that it's hard to convince you to take a day off on a weekend, never mind a vacation. And you have put your heart and soul in. You've worked tremendously hard. You have been able to self-reflect and really look at that self-reflection and move forward with the district. I'm really happy for you that you have a grandbaby that you're going to be able to spend time with. And, I know when we spoke personally, certainly this year with the pandemic and trying to open a school and keep kids educated and also give time to your family has been very challenging. And you soon will be able to take a breath, and you're probably not going to know what to do with yourself. But thank you so very much.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Although that Joe's trying to take credit for the steering committee putting you part of the package, I'd just like to remind him that I cast the deciding vote that actually hired you here. So I'm just going to
Thank you, Jim.
And the reason I bring that forward is because I remember bits and pieces of that when we were doing the initial fact finding about you and the other candidates. And one was that in your interview, you mentioned that as soon as you saw the job pop up, the first thing you did was to take a drive around the towns of Aaron Shirley to see what they looked like. And at that, we all knew you weren't looking at the odometer for the commute. You were trying to see what we're about and how things were going to work out. The other thing that really stuck out and made me very happy with my decision was that either Pat or Dan or somebody was at your school, and at that point you would expect the candidate to be all ears and goading on top of the people that are interviewing. You're walking across the parking lot and you told them, "Excuse me," and you confronted some student who shouldn't have been in the parking lot at the time they were in the parking lot, to go find out where they were supposed to be and why they were in the parking lot. And that particular aspect really carried a lot for me, because if I had to pick, I mean, there are many great things that happened since you've been here and really through your initiative. But if I had to pick out the major quality that impacted everything else that happened here, it's your real attention to detail. If you can't do the small things right, you can't do the big things. If you're willing to accept less, then you're not going to be any better at the bigger things that you have to accomplish. And that level of expectation is required of everyone. I think the person who had the biggest shock was when you told Fred Deppie that the blinds in the cafeteria weren't all even when you drove by. That was going to be a problem. Right off the get-go, everything you've done there and everything you've done to help out all the schools, I mean, they are markedly different. Anytime you walk through any of the places, you have changed the level of expectation for everyone in very many ways. So for that, we thank you, and we will continue to bear the fruits of all your hard work for the last 7 years. Thank you, Dr. Malone.
Thank you, Mr. Quinty. Appreciate it.
All right. I guess I'm last. I tried to jump in because I figured I might not have anything left to say. Everyone else has lauded you so well, and so deservingly so. I guess the one thing I would add is just, obviously a thank you for your devotion to the district, but, on a personal level, thank you for still being a teacher in some ways to me. I learned a lot from you on various aspects over the last 6 years. And I'm very appreciative to that. I guess, what is it? A teacher's work is never done. I will always remember that little sign in your office that said, "You're silently correcting my grammar." I don't know why that always struck a nerve with me, but no, again, I appreciate everything you've done for our district, and how you've pushed it forward, and thank you. And enjoy those at least 2 extra hours you'll have back now that you don't have a commute. But
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very
But
much.
let's remember, we still have you. We
Right.
have you. So
Yes.
all these
Oh,
wonderful
yes.
words you'll hear again, but we're gonna sap you for everything you have for the next few months. No, I don't mean that. I don't mean that. I just mean all your
Yeah, she
knowledge.
does. She means that. She really does.
I don't mean all your time. I mean all your knowledge and all the ways you've set us up. We need to make sure we know what we're doing going forward, because we will be at a loss without you.
Well, thank you very much, and we'll be fine, and I'm still here for quite a long time, so and I'm looking forward to the next 5 or 6 months in my time in here, Shirley.
Well, with Mary, we were always reaching up, and I think that's where we want to go. So
thank you, Joyce.
It was really awesome. Okay. I was going to go hip hooray, maybe for the last day, not for this day. Okay. So we saved that till last. So we have Chairman's notes here. This has been a very hard time for all of us. And I was reflecting the other day that education is all we have. And that's what we're doing. And if we don't do education, and if we don't help our kids to have the basis that they need, how are we going to move forward in this country and in our lives? And so I think we're doing an important thing. Maybe not perfect, but important. So I thank everybody for all the work they've done. Other topics not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance of this meeting. Seeing none.
Oh, wait, hold on. I got one thing.
Oh, Jonathan.
I'm sorry. I'll give you a break.
Okay, go ahead, because you're going to read the announcements, I think, right?
Yeah, I know that too. No, I was just wondering if we could possibly, sort of as we get out of budget season, perhaps have MASC come in and do a workshop with us, and certainly because and open it up to the communities at large. Obviously, we've had an increase in attendance from the public over the last year, which I think is great, and certainly is good. As someone who's been on 6 years, I could always use a refresher too, but I think it would be a good thing for MASC to come in and just do a 1 to 2 hour presentation on the role of the school committee within the school district, right? What are we charged with? What are some of our policies? I mean, I know the charting the course thing is an all-day Saturday thing. I don't think that's necessary, because it goes into things like negotiations, which we do, but does everyone need to know the nitty-gritty of negotiating strategies? Probably not. But I think it would be a great thing to do either at night, here in a few weeks, or if we can get them to come out and do it, just so that people can understand, what governance we're under as publicly elected officials. And then by extension of that, what other committees or subcommittees may also be governed by, and some of the reasoning why we do things. Again, I think it's great that we've had this increased participation, but I think it may be time that we just sort of, for our sake, do a review, just for our members as well, but also just for the general public. I don't think we've ever done one of these before, and maybe that was just because we operated in somewhat less public participation space. Not that we didn't welcome it, just the way it worked out. But I don't see Zoom going away, or having an incorporation of Zoom going away within anytime soon. So
Well, and doing that at this time is really good, because doing it at Zoom, we're not asking them to come out at night and make a special presentation, and leaves it more open. And it never hurts to remind ourselves the various freedoms and non-freedoms that we have on working on the committee. So I will follow up on that and have some information at the next meeting.
okay, awesome, appreciate it.
All right, no problem.
I think that's a great idea, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Spot on.
We all
Agreed.
do.
I did too.
I think that's a unanimous decision, although it wasn't a vote, but that's all right. So if we could have communications, please.
Sure. All right, so let's see, Thursday, January 21st, 9:30 a.m. on Zoom, virtual pre-K kindergarten and pre-K and kindergarten informational sessions for parents and guardians. Do we just, if people are interested, they contact central office for those Zoom links, or will they get it in their registration packet?
We sent out the flyers this week in the weekly update, and they can also go to the website, and front and center on the homepage is the registration information there with the links.
Perfect, thank you. Friday, January 22nd is a half day of school, grades preschool through 12 for exams, and grades preschool through 8 and professional development for teachers. Tuesday, January 26th is another virtual pre-K and kindergarten informational session for parents and guardians. This one's in the evening, 6:30 p.m., also on Zoom. Thursday, January 28th, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Advisory Committee meeting, 7 p.m. via Zoom. Monday, February 1st, report cards issued for grades 9 through 12. February 2nd is a Tuesday, school committee meeting at 6:30 p.m. Wednesday, February 3rd, progress reports issued for grades preschool through 8. Thursday, February 4th, half day of school for grades 6 through 8, and evening parent-teacher conference 2, conferences. Not sure what that means. Thursday, February 4th, evening parent-teacher conferences for grades 9 through 12. Friday, February 5th, half day of school, grades 6 through 8, and afternoon parent-teacher conferences. Monday, February 15th, no school in observance of President's Day. And then Tuesday, February 16th through Friday, February 19th, no school for February vacation. And I can't believe we're already talking about February vacation.
Lots of snow to make it fun. Okay. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you very much. Dr. Malone, do we have a need for an executive session?
No, Madam Chair, we do not need a need for executive session this evening.
Thank you very much. So if we'll make a motion to adjourn, I think we
Motion to adjourn.
Business.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, guys, you need a second.
All right.
Second.
Thanks. Joe seconds it. Michelle, would you give us a final roll call, please?
Mr. DeForge,
Aye.
Mrs. Granger,
Aye.
Mr. Leone,
Aye.
Mr. Quinty,
Aye.
Mrs. Reshoots,
Aye.
Mrs. Simmons.
Aye.